Why are many conservatives stuck on the Russia-Ukraine issue? Since the outbreak of the Russian-Ukrainian war in 2022, a striking phenomenon is that the biggest disagreement among American conservatives is how to view the Russian-Ukrainian war. Some friends who have always supported Trump have complained that Trump did not absolutely and unconditionally support Zelensky. My view on this is that we must first understand the truth and full picture of history. Second, we must know the opinions of some knowledgeable and insightful experts, such as Professor John Mearsheimer, a famous expert on international relations, and Colonel Douglas Macgregor, a senior advisor to the Department of Defense during Trump's first term. The gist of their argument is that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, it was a reasonable demand for Russia to ask its neighbor Ukraine to remain neutral and not join NATO for its own strategic security considerations. Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, which is unquestionable. But this did not happen for no reason. Russia was not unprovoked. The Russian-Ukrainian conflict did not start in 2022. The CIA planned a pro-Western coup in Ukraine in 2014. Ukraine banned ethnic Russians from using Russian and carried out armed suppression of peaceful protesters, such as the Odessa incident, and the Donbas region demanding autonomy. From 2014 to 2022, Ukraine's provocations have not stopped for 8 years. Some people say that Ukraine is a sovereign state and it is their right to join NATO. Similarly, Cuba is also a sovereign state and it was its own right to form a military alliance with the Soviet Union in the 1960s. What reason did U.S. President Kennedy have to force Khrushchev to withdraw nuclear bombs from Cuba? In a word, the essence of Mearsheimer's view is to recognize the rationality of regional politics. I basically agree with Mearsheimer's view, but I would also like to add a very important point. The fundamental difference between Russia and the CCP is that Russia has given up communism and is now an orthodox country. However, the majority of the Democratic and Republican parties in the United States cannot see this elephant in the room, and still keep the old ideas and methods used against the Soviet Union to treat Putin. There is a conservative self-media person whom I admire very much. He is a staunch supporter of Trump and extremely disgusted with Putin. In a recent program, he talked about the diplomatic achievements of Trump's Middle East trip, including the reconciliation with the former terrorist leader of Syria. The original text is like this. A guy named Shara came to power in Syria. His title is Interim President. What is his background? He was a former member of Al-Qaeda, then the Nusra Front, and then the Levant Liberation Organization, HTS. He used to be the top terrorist with a $10 million bounty from the United States. He was also on the international blacklist for massacring and kidnapping civilians. He even spent 5 years in a U.S. military prison. You say, for such a former terrorist, why is Trump willing to lift sanctions on him and meet him in person in Riyadh? The answer is very simple, because he is not a terrorist now. At least not on the surface, and he knows how to stand on the right side. As soon as Shara came to power, he started to play the emotional card with the Western media. He said on CNN that he was impulsive when he was young, and now talks about tolerance. He also promised to protect women's rights and protect religious minorities, especially the Druze. The meaning of this passage, in connection with the context, is that the United States is using all available forces to isolate, attack, and deal with the biggest threat, the CCP. There is nothing wrong with this. But, isn't this more suitable for Putin? Why should we make peace with Russia? Isn't it because it is no longer communist? Isn't it because Putin knew how to stand on the right side and asked to join NATO more than 20 years ago? Isn't it because Putin has been protecting Russia's Orthodox Christians for many years? Saying that Putin is Hitler, can it stand? Hitler used more than 1 million troops to occupy Poland in 1939. Would Putin's 200,000 troops in 2022 really be used to occupy the whole Ukraine? If Hitler had had as many nuclear weapons as Russia does now, would he not have used them when Germany's border was threatened? Once an idea is formed, it is not easy to change. The important thing is to keep an open mind, and sometimes ask yourself what the point of view you believe is based on, and whether it is contradictory to your other cognition. If it can be self-consistent, it is not necessarily right, but if it cannot be self-consistent, it is definitely wrong. It is never too late to mend the fence after the sheep have been lost. Only when the bloody war stops and Russia is accepted by Western civilization again, the world's prospects will be bright. Otherwise, one day, the atomic bomb might be launched and human civilization would be destroyed. Why let it happen? Are we so irreconcilable just because the Russian president used to be a KGB member? You can accept Shara of Syrian Muslims, a known terrorist, but you cannot accept the Putin of Christian Russia? Give me a break.